mourning, grief and heartbreak. These aren't the sorts of things that we associate with blessing, are they? When we think of blessing, we picture happiness, celebration, uninterrupted joy. And on the other hand, mourning feels like the exact opposite of that. A place of sorrow, loss and pain. How is it that Jesus, with no sense of irony, can sit before his disciples and declare this? Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. What does it mean to mourn? How can that possibly be a blessing? Mourning and grief are tightly linked. Grief is what we feel, and mourning is how we express that feeling. And it has to do with a feeling of brokenness, the brokenness of ourselves and the brokenness in the world around us, of the things that we should have that are lost because of that brokenness. Whenever we mourn, we're acknowledging the fact that things are not as they're supposed to be. And that is the big story of the Bible, isn't it? That God created the world, that it was good, but when sin entered in, so did death and suffering and pain. These things which were formerly alien ideas, all of a sudden becoming realities which dominate and rule our existence. You see, if we know the truth of our Father in heaven, that will require us to look honestly at ourselves and our surroundings and to grieve for what has been lost, to mourn the loss of the world and ourselves as they truly should be. God grieves in the scriptures. In Genesis 6, we read the story of God looking and seeing just how wicked humanity has become, and the overflow of hurting that has come into his once good world, and it says that his heart was filled with grief. In the life of Jesus, we see it clearly as well, don't we? As he stood at the tomb of his dear friend Lazarus, even though he knew the miracle that was about to be enacted, Jesus wept. Or another occasion of his weeping, as he's approaching Jerusalem. What is it that Jesus said on that occasion? Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who are sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Jesus mourns, Jesus grieves death and sin and suffering and the hardness of heart that makes that sort of world a reality. The world is how everyone out there, outside of God's kingdom, sees it, then grief will still come from time to time when the things that we trust in fail us. But if we know the Father, if we know the way the things should be, the way that we should be, and we see that the world and ourselves are not, well then grief and mourning come as natural byproducts. Blessed are those who mourn. It's not an encouragement to seek out discomfort, but to see the world as it truly is, to feel the weight of brokenness and to grieve, just like Jesus does. But mourning isn't the end either. It isn't a one-way ticket to despair, because remember, Jesus paired it with his promise, for we will be comforted. And that is the hope of the gospel, the deep, abiding comfort of knowing that God mourns with us and he is doing something about it. In Revelation 21, the Apostle John is given this glimpse into what the world will be when the brokenness, when the sinfulness, when the rejection and the rebellion against God is done away with. He says it's a place where every tear will be wiped from our eyes, for there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. The old order of things will have passed away. The old order of things. The world we know now, full of sin and suffering. The world without the Father, without the Son, without the Holy Spirit, gone. And so too mourning and grief and tears. And in their place, comfort. That isn't just a promise for some distant future. It is that, but it's that and more. God has always been a God who, through his grace, is close to those who are brokenhearted. He's always been a God who saves and rescues from that brokenness those who are crushed in their spirit. So what does it mean for us to mourn as followers of Jesus? It means being willing to see the world as it truly is, to see ourselves as they truly are, all of our brokenness and shortcomings, all of the suffering that falls out of that, feeling the weight, but not stopping there. It means bringing our grief, bringing our mournings to God and trusting that He is our comfort and our hope. So today, don't just stop at mourning. Acknowledge those things which break your heart and break God's heart too. But bring them to Him. Bring them to the God who will carry you through, who is putting right all that has gone wrong, who is fixing and healing all that is broken and ill. Because the promise stands. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted.